question for upper grades. And it's been awesome because we've really been focusing on developing driving questions and really developing those deeper, the critical thinking to get deeper thinking from our students, to engage them in their learning so they're responsible for their learning. So that's really been our 5 to 9 focus, and it's such a beautiful feed from Regio, because that's what Regio is, right? We want our kids to think for themselves. They need to be able to be independent thinkers, and we want to really challenge our top-end students, and then we guide and scaffold for our kids that aren't quite there, right? So it's really no different. So I think it's awesome, and thank you for the 2 of you, because you are rock stars at spreading the love in our school of Regio. And
so if you don't know, Sandra and I are sort of, you could think of us as Regio coaches. We've sort of been doing it for a while, and we sort of have that experience. So you can always come and ask us if you have questions. Or if you see a really great example of one of those things that we talked about, you could come and let us know, and then we can sort of add that to our highlight reel, so that when we take it to other people, we can be like, you're doing a really great job. What you did here is a really great example of our 6 key principles, and we can encourage people that way. What we find is a lot of people say, I'm going to pick on me. I teach grade 9, and I don't do Regio's for little people. But it's not really for little people. The 6 key principles apply to anyone. It's just in practice delivered to little people the most, but the philosophy can be applied to anyone.
A great website is galileo.org. It's out of the University of Calgary. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't visited and played around with that site, it's a great site. And of course, Edutopia, is how you say it?
Yeah, Edutopia
has some really cool stuff too in there.
And if you like Facebook as an inspiration idea board, or Pinterest or anything like that, you can join. There's little groups on Facebook called Regio Teachers. If you just put that into Facebook, and then people just share ideas and ask questions. And Sandra and I get a lot from that sort of experience of sharing.
And Monique and I are starting something.
If you guys want to pass on also, because that surgeon driving questions that I shared with everybody, if you guys want to add in any cool driving questions that you've ever used with your kids, please feel free to add, because there's, like I said, 5 schools, and my lower grades are kind of quiet right now.
Do you guys? Oh yes, we haven't done. Does everybody know what a driving question is? Or you have a little bit lost? So a driving.
Because I probably didn't guess.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's a driving question. So it's a question that you use to sort of springboard off a project from, in Regio we call it
provocation.
Mm-hmm. So it's just sort of that idea, what's the leading question? It's sort of putting it out there and planting the seed and hoping it.
So with us, we do a lot of, because we want to do our humanities together, and then math tends to be on its own in science, right? But we do LA and social together. So we kind of do that whole, okay, what are some outcomes, for social studies? Let's say we're starting a new unit. So if you're looking at outcomes, how could you ask kids an open-ended question that could get you those learner outcomes that you might sometimes need to rein them in, because they might go way out in left field, right? And so it's that asking the question, and it often leads to more questions. And so in a lot of classrooms, there's a board where the kids actually just get to go up and write their questions, but teachers don't even look at it. And then they say to the kids, I'm going to visit that. And the ones that are Googleable, then if kids have spare time, then they do those ones. But those aren't deeper thinking questions, because if I can Google it, sorry, I didn't have to think, right? Yeah. And then any of them that are way out there, then they might circle in one color and say, no, we're not going to cover this, but if you want to follow this on free time, go ahead. Yeah. And if it's things that we know are going to keep us on track, then they would circle it in a different color. And so we kind of guide the process so that we make sure that we're actually covering our curricular outcomes when you do it.
So one way that we did that in my class is we listed all the science outcomes from the curriculum for our animal unit. And then we started writing down things we already knew in one color, and our ideas and questions in another color. And then we checked them off as we learned them, and as we sort of discovered them and researched them. So, that's just one sort of simple way of doing it. Does anybody have any questions? I would encourage you to just look up more and just explore. There's a wealth of stuff on the internet, but it's kind of fun to research on the internet, because there's no one answer you'll find. There's no I'm going to go to regio.com. There's no one place, and everybody has a little bit of a different interpretation of the 6 values, and they represent them differently. So it's kind of fun to just poke around and kind of see what you get, and you can sort of start to see the commonalities. So I'm going to count on Mike to to be our like junior high champion. And when everybody says we don't do ratio, that's just club. He's gonna say no. We got this.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
you
you.
can put Tara and John on the spot because they're my leaders this year.
Yeah,
in the
that's
call
true.
work, so put them on the spot.
That's
Thanks, you guys.
No problem.
Good calls notes version.
Yeah, the fastest
Bravo.
version you'll ever get. Enjoy
Right.
Mr. Bean on your way out.
Is that good?
Yeah.